the first revolution, the peaceful democratic and revolution of the 21st century was here in Venezuela. And I just, this, because I think, and I say with responsibility, I would like to say with responsibility that I suspect that humanity is losing a war, a crucial war, in relation to the future life in the planet, to the life that we would like to have. There's an author, Yanis Varoufakis, I don't know if you know it, that wrote a book, Techno-Feudalism. And he says that capitalism died, but capitalism was assassinated precisely by the capital, by a new capital, by a new way of capital accumulation. And it is being substituted by feudal lords that they consider their right to own the planet. 3 or 4 people, very important author called Annie Weller, that is titled The 9 Giants. Who are the 9 giants? The 9 giants of the technology that today are dominating the world, or they attempt to dominate the world, dominate the planet. But it's sure that beyond the geopolitical implications that this immense power that they have accumulated, you don't have any doubt that at this moment they dominate the minds of the majority of the population of the planet. This is true. And it's also true from a principle, from the start, on a cognitive principle, on the principles from the beginning of a Homo sapiens, of a human species, is marked on fire in our brain. The rejection to isolation is marked with fire. In the theory in relation to the topography of the mind, according to the number of neurons in the area of the brain that is busy in a function, more important also will have that function, of course. That's lately had been substituted by the theory of the mind circuits. But let's say that the mind representation of our hand in the brain, these 4 fingers have a determined representation in the brain, but the thumb is very big because the thumb has more functions than the rest of the 4 fingers of the hand. And that is the difference of other primates. The fear to isolation, which this determines by the silence spiral, and which determines the control of the mind that is making this rat, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Moss, is in 5 parts of our brain. The most important is relationship with will. The prefrontal lobule, the frontal, which is different, what differentiates ourselves with other primates and other species of animal. The front lobule, the cingulated zone of the brain, which is a very thick zone, and which determines the relation with ourselves and the emotions. Part of the brain is determined, which is called the amygdala, and is regulating the emotions of the human being and how the human being interacts with other human beings. I'm sorry if I bother you, but this is and there's a part of a hypo field which is related to the memory, with the remembers, but there's a specific place in the hypo field where we remember the social interaction of our childhood. That is why it's so dangerous and so serious, the harassment against children, against adolescents in schools. That is why this has led to suicide and has led to homicides in case of sick societies like the one in the United States, and those adolescents that are going into the schools and shooting people. So that is so powerful. So powerful it is this issue of the fear of isolation, social isolation. And there's a man here that is co-founder of Facebook. His name is Chan Parker. Perhaps you cannot recognize him, but there's a film which portrays the beginning of Facebook. the disgusting ascent to Facebook, which is called, this author is co-founder of co-creator of Facebook. Look at this, what this person say. We have to proportionate a big shock of dopamine every certain time because somebody has pushed a like or whatever. It's a buckle of it's exactly one of these things that a hacker will invent, like me, to exploit a weak point in the psychology, human psychology. The inventors of Facebook, Zuckerberg, all those people, they understood very consciously, it was consciously elaborated to produce a way of control on the people's mind. And I would dare to say that the film ends asking Zucker to invite women that he loved, and the woman didn't respond, and the film ends that way. Zuckerberg is rejected, isolated from the same network that he created. Even though we did it knowing that we were what we were doing, and it changes literally the relation of the people with society and with the rest of the people. How many children of 12, 13 years are at this moment immersed in our network at this moment, watching Instagram or X or Facebook or TikTok? How many? The substance that regulates the functions of the brain is called the serotonin. Is also the area where they control the emotions. What loves and what doesn't love, and when you love, one of those substances go down, and it's called despise. Do you remember Javier Solis? Because serotonin is a slow substance that works on a constant way, but there's a transmitter that reactivates when you consume the cocaine, and it's called dopamine. And this is retrotransmitter that, as one of the creators of Facebook say, produces a shock and falls right away. So you know that, you know what it is? It's like passing from one content of TikTok to another one, and to another one. It's not a voluntary thing. It's not voluntary. It's just like you need that every small time the dopamine is activated. And and another thing that activates the dopamine, going shopping or going shopping virtually also. And it's but if you are told that in your children's school there's a man selling cocaine or amphetamine, that will produce you sorrow. But nobody will feel sorrow that children, men, women, consume amphetamine and digital amphetamine, cocaine, in a way, in a form of network. It doesn't matter. That killed the attention. And that's why there's an increase of the deficit of attention at this moment in our schools. Why? Because if you see a content during a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes in TikTok, you are used to only look at 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, and the dopamine goes down and up. You used to see TikTok for 1 month, and then you try to see a film. You will not be able to do it because you will be sleepy, because dopamine is falling. All that is calculated. Why? So that they control our minds. It sounds like a science fiction movie, but that's the pure reality. That's pure truth. These rats are coming after us. And when they say to us, we say to the human species. I refer to humanity. These rats, Zuckerberg, Musk, Bezos, they are after the human beings, men and women. And you know why? You know what for? They come to finish, to end our liberty, our freedom, the freedom to choose, the freedom to be, the freedom to think, the freedom to love, the freedom to choose. Not even they allow you to choose. Not even they allow you to evaluate if somebody that thinks different from you has arguments, enough arguments to convince you. They don't need to be convinced. You need to be, you have to continue believing what I think, and it's you that is believing. I'm sorry for this tongue twister, but that's the way it is. At this level, in August 2024, there are millions of people in this planet that are still believing that the Earth is plane, and they talk about the horizon, and they talk about how they will fall and the gigantic wall that is in a certain point. And we hear that in TikTok, and we say, where is this coming? This crazy is coming from. So this crazy guy is only watching the networks to another crazy like him that is saying that the Earth is flat. That's called the resonance board in the media, social media. With these two things, with the two details, the free choice is finished. The human mind is finished. I would dare to say that within 50 years, 60 years, perhaps less, the brains of human beings will be different to how they are today, and they will have an amygdala bigger to be able to control the anxiety, the social anxiety, and be able to have a frontal lobe, smaller lobe front, to have less will, less capacity of volition, less capacity. I'm not talking about nonsense. We're talking about memory of the human beings is different, is much smaller than the memory of the human beings 60, 50 years ago. I don't remember the number of my telephone. Before, I remember 50, 60 telephone numbers. I don't remember now. There are people that today can count, can calculate, adding and subtracting. My friend Nicolas Maduro Moros can do that and remember a date in an incredible way. But I dare to say that this will be something very rare in the future. That will be a very outstanding case if in 50, 40 years you can just remember a telephone number. And I would dare to say that then the heap of fill, when the memory is there, will be smaller. And all that as a consequence of the social media. Techno-feudalism. 3 humans, 3 people, or 9, not even 10, 20, are controlling. And they attempt to control, they try to control the life of thousands of millions of people, where we are included also the Venezuelan people, with the boldness. Nothing is more attempting against the freedom of expression, the freedom to express your opinion, the freedom to express yourself, of saying, I despise fascist, I despise somebody that wants to annihilate another person because of his political thinking. I despise the hatred that the fascists are sending out. That will be prohibited. Because if something is attempting against the freedom of choice of expression, is this spiral of silence and this sounding board. But Elon Musk says that he feels alarmed because of the attempt to the freedom of expression after Maduro banned X for 10 days. That's identical. The vice president of Facebook said, the situation now is very nefarious. We didn't know that on the short term, the buckles of dopamine. So on each page, the dopamine will go back, down, and up. That's explaining biology, that we have created, what we have created is destroying the way society is functioning, and we are erosioning the behavior of people between themselves, and I don't have any solution for that. My solution is that I will stop using those networks. The existence of humanity as we know it today is what is at risk. That's why they come after Venezuela in a very explosive way, in a very disruptive way without any limit. Because, of course, it's up to us to stand up against them. And I wish all the other countries on the planet will do the same thing. I wish that we can assume that the eruption of the social networks that once was thought that was to promote more freedom between human beings, nobody thought at that moment in the 90s when this way of communication began, nobody thought that how it was going to generate freedom, something that was created by capitalism to create capital. How could nobody believe or think if it's made by capitalism is to slave people in a certain way? And this time they went directly to the brain, not to the pocket, as capitalists usually do. They went to the brain, the human brain. The only thing that differentiates us from another primate species is the brain. And more than the brain, this part of the brain that is very this is a frontal lobe. They are after that. That's why the hatred of Elon Musk. That's why the fraud that they made with the different sheets. You know that they don't talk about the sheets now. Why? They don't talk anymore about the sheets. The new species they would like to impose is that Venezuela published their sheets in the Supreme Court, in the electoral chamber. They have already forgotten that is not competent, because now Elon Musk have not been able to burn all our brains so we can just read our constitutional articles still. He hasn't been able to achieve that. So then, now they come. They're not talking about the sheets because we already show that it was a farce, a very dirty papers cut out, badly glued. They don't talk about the highest Supreme Court is not competent. Now they are saying that Venezuela has to publish the sheets. I'm thinking about sending a letter to the United States so that they can send me the sheets that when Trump said it was a fraud of the elections. Do you know what the answer would be? For example, the Chicago answer, because that's by states. Each state decides how the election is held. The Chicago response would be, there's no act, there's no sheets, because we don't print sheets. They go and vote in the machine, and the vote is going somewhere, and somebody says 240, and so that's it. I would like to send a letter to the Chile president of the elections in Chile. The sheets. This Boris raised his head and send me the sheets. I would like to ask the sheets in Peru that shows Irma Boluarte, the president of Peru. But she didn't participate in the elections. She usurped the position of the president, and she didn't participate in the elections. Or the sheets in Europe, or the sheets in Colombia, or the sheets in Brazil. Because this is something that is always against us. And I think that they are going against us, because asking us what they are incapable of fulfilling in their country, is normal that they go after us, because we are doing, and we're doing the same, the struggle for the humanity to continue to be free, independent, so that our country remain ours, our country, not the country of Marx, of Donald Trump. It's normal. Sometimes one could say that they are a little bit boring. I was reading yesterday the report of the audit that Carter Center made about the recalling referendum that was a referendum to confirm Hugo Chavez in 2004. But it was a different Carter Center because there was a decent man that was called Jimmy Carter and not these Furbers, these people that are now, because they are paid by USAID, the United States Agency for Development. Every time that you see an agency that is American United States Agency for Development, you erase it. These are spy agencies to defeat, to conspire for violence and death. This Carter Center, where Jimmy Carter was, he did. He proposed to do, and the electoral power accepted it. The same thing that today the Superior Court is doing now, an audit to determine the validity of the acts. And you know how many acts this Carter Center studied? Do you remember? I don't remember. I didn't remember. 150 acts, 150 sheets, 150 voting stations out of thousands of voting stations, 150 voting stations. And with these, they said, this is how the sheets, so how many, how's the calculation? And Carter signed. What a difference with this center that is paid by USAID. And they went to the United States, and the United States is saying whatever they want, without any proof, without any evidence, without anything. Because they came here with the same purpose, with the purpose of aggression. I propose and I think that we do a reform, make a reform of the electoral laws of Venezuela so that never, ever any foreigner come here to do anything here with anything that deals with the Venezuela elections. Because why a foreigner has to come here? So what for? What kind of capacity he has? So they are the expert of the United Nations saying they sign, they don't have a word. They don't have a word. This panel of experts is not a good panel without any word, because they sign saying that the report is private and not only it would be known the electoral power in Venezuela and the Secretary of the United Nations. So they announced that now that it will be public. And once say, sometimes it's boring. I would like to say only that let's go to get used to it, because as long as we are rebel, as long as we are contestants, decent, courageous, revolutionary, Venezuelans, women and men, they're coming after us, and we're going to continue beating them. We have to swear, because that happened once, and we're going to continue beating them on the street as we have beaten fascism. That violent woman, and his puppet, who is violent because he vindicated the assassinations, González Urrutia. He published a post on X, vindicated 25th assassinations, calling them peaceful protests. And they assassinated 25 people in one night, all of them from Chavism, all Chavists, or agents of the public police force. They thought that they were going to overthrow us on Monday, but afterwards, and that they were overthrowing us on Tuesday, and afterwards that they were going, and now they come with the so-called international pressure. We are black belt expert in the international matters. Come here with your pressure, with the intentional pressure, so that we can, well, you know what I thought was very gross and machismo. So that's why I didn't say it. So we didn't live it. So we lived that on the 21st, on the 22nd, in worse conditions. Now we have to move on, and we have to contribute. We have to put our grain in defense of humanity against these rats of Zuckerberg and other Musk, against these new feudal lords that would like to turn us as serf, and to turn as serf their serfs that are not submitted to any law, to any regulation, that they have invented a new way of capital that even will finish, will kill capitalism, will kill the 2008 crisis of the banks was created by them because of the ambition, because of the avarice. That is to say, is such the barbaric level in that they are killing capitalism. This neo-feudalism is killing the capitalism, as they are so barbaric as that. But we are forced to put our efforts in, because it's not possible that our children are to the mercy of these rats. It's not possible that because we get tired, the father and mothers allow the custody of our children to Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, that he was having fun in that island with children, with boys and girls. It's not possible, because it's just like getting a sheep and give it to a wolf and say, take care of him. In the long run, what they will look for always is to dominate from our own weakness, which are inborn. They are not learned. They are so powerful because they are inborn, and that's why we have to denounce. We have to struggle them. We have to, and this is a mission of this National Assembly, to make a rule so that we have laws, that they have to respect, and laws that if they don't respect it, so because we have to protect the people, because this is the worst threat against humanity. We are forced, and we will do it.
We were listening to the statements of Jorge Rodriguez, President of the National Assembly of Venezuela, one day after a meeting of the National Defense Council on Monday, where precisely Rodriguez informed about a group of regulations aimed at confronting the spread of hatred, terrorism. As we were saying, we were live to Venezuela as the National Assembly is holding an ordinary session. During his intervention, the President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, assured lawmakers are discussing a group of regulations aimed at confronting the spread of hatred, terrorism, and fascist expressions in the country. In this sense, regarding the current reality where violence and hate speeches are spreading with impunity through social media, Rodriguez assured humanity is losing a crucial war for the future of life in this planet, the battle for peace and respect. The main values of humanity are being substituted as fascism is multiplying with the promotion of tycoons who have the control of powerful platforms of communication and are also seeking to control the people's behavior and interfere in the internal affairs of other countries. This is all for the moment. Stay tuned with From the South to keep informed with all the updates.